A little fun fact about this room. Before it somehow turned into a sewing room, this was that room in the house, or we had two, where everything just gets put in. Everything you don't use, you don't think you need, you're not ready to throw away, you just shuffle it into this room. And every time I walked past here, because I had to do that every day, I had to choose between being annoyed or like taking responsibility. So I ended up choosing not to be angry that there was this messy room, and I put this note on the door, outside the door. It said Ho'oponopono, and my thought was that all I have to do is Ho'oponopono, and this room will clean out itself. Because in this room, not only were there so many boxes and weird things, my sister's things and everything after we moved here, there was this huge, I mean, it took most of the room, wooden thing that in the old days people would make this carpet. So, but it wasn't like a normal carpet thing, it was enormous. And my mom, she had picked this thing up because, you know, one day maybe she would like to try it and make a carpet. One day in the future, she might do that. And so an entire room in the house, small house, was used for this giant thing. But one day we were sitting in the kitchen and we thought about this. And in the end, we both just started laughing. This is so ridiculous. That's never going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's still not worth keeping it. So what ended up happening is that we just threw the whole thing out the window and we drove it to another place. We still have it, but it's kind of broken because we threw it down the window. But the Ho'oponopono, it it worked because it ended up being a room that I now use every day, and I wouldn't have been able to do so much what I do without this room. And so maybe that's the power of Ho'oponopono. But we have this other room, and I also put a note on that door. It's still that room. But that's the thing about Ho'oponopono. We don't get to judge it. We don't get to say if the outcome is correct, bad, or good, or whatever. It is what it is, and the entire point is to leave the process up to something bigger, something higher. Like it's out of our own hands. And because in that moment, you don't know the best solution, and you don't have any inspiration, you don't know the next step to take, so you keep doing the Ho'oponopono until the solution comes. But that note downstairs, it's black and it doesn't really show, so maybe I have to change it, but it doesn't matter because maybe that's what it's meant to be, a room. Maybe we need that room for now, who knows. But so I've been thinking about this, all of the opportunities that are always here that we do not necessarily see. And even until yesterday, I believe that the intuition was like as far as we can go. It's brilliant and it leads us into this magical life of divine synchronicities. But I was called out. That's not where it stops. When it comes to exponential futures, our biggest, brightest, most genius plan, it can never measure up to that. Which is why even intuition will not be able to catch the reality that's actually here when it comes to all of the variations that are possible. It's literally endless. endless. And so that's what my ChatGPT, I don't know how it did this because I've never mentioned it, but in the middle of a conversation, it just pulls out my favorite quotes of all times. Like, there's plenty of room at the bottom. There's plenty of room at the bottom. So when we allow ourselves to take that next step that we can see right now, okay, we're throwing out this big thing out the window, then a new set of opportunities that you couldn't see before is now open. But in order to see those, you had to do that one little step. And so, say this right now, where we stand, it's limited because there's so many tiny steps we haven't made yet. But still, from this limited point of view, we want to make a plan that spans for years. However, if we did take those 5 tiny next steps, which every step, a new set of opportunities would open itself up. Now, if we make a plan from that point, it would be such a different plan than if we try to do it before taking action. That's why that intuition, it goes beyond plans, but the ultimate plan is beyond intuition. So there's this book, I tried to find it, but it has disappeared somehow up in the air. Reality Transurfing, one of my favorite books, even if I haven't read it cover to cover. But it talks about projected importance. And the only kind of safe way to avoid this is to keep taking those little steps. So, say a little child, what do you want to be when you grow up? But maybe the question isn't what do you want to be when you grow up? The question is what do you want to be right now? What do you want to do right now? And that's where life begins. It doesn't begin in 10 years after you've gone to school and now you're going to have your profession. It starts right now. We can have anything right now, not to the extent that we would have that thing after doing it for 20 years. That's a different story. We're now experts. But there's always a way to start right now. And I believe perhaps that 90% of the time, making a plan will always limit the potential that's truly available to us. It feels safe to have a plan, but it's also Deepak Chopra, he says it's the best. He says this the best. Basically, he says something like, through the wisdom of the insecurity that is right here now, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but through the wisdom of the gift of this, that is that anything can happen tomorrow, even today, because today is basically tomorrow. And through that wisdom, he finds his freedom. If we are in our mind, we'll find our anxiety there. our misery will be right there in not knowing what is to come. But in its wisdom, we'll find our freedom, our liberation is right there. I mean, this is the biggest challenge when you try to surrender your God. No, you surrender your God. You surrender your life to your higher self because you tried. You really tried to do it your way and it didn't work. It had you ending up in the bed, not being able to function. So now you're like, okay, now it's your turn to fix or to guide my life. And if you do that, you have to be okay with the fact that there's this huge chance that The possibilities are so much bigger than what your brain is able to figure out. And so the only way to live out your potential is to let go of needing to know. So scary, but I think this means that I just have to take a few steps, because in the end that's all we can do. But we can also choose to take the steps that we are most sure that are going to be most valuable. So this is the thing I wanted to speak about earlier. It's the 80-20 principle. There are certain areas in our life where we could put in 20% of the effort and already get 80% of the results. And once you find that area in your own life, that's probably the best time to double down.